Hello everyone and welcome to a new video of Firepower Threat Defense series. In this video, we are going to start looking at malware and file control policies on Cisco FTD. So let's jump onto our FMC first. This is our FMC. This is our access control policy. So in order to have file and malware control policy work, so you can treat file and malware control policies are like profiles, okay? Because those once created are applied into individual rules of access control policy. If you see rule number one, if I go under the inspection section, it can have its own file policy. And similarly, rule number two can also have its own file policy and they can be different. Okay. So they are like profiles which are then attached to these rules and then applied to the respective traffic that matches your access control rule. Okay. So let's look at the file and malware control policy. In order to create a file and malware control policy, you have to go to policies, click on malware and file. Okay. Here, let's create a new policy. You can click on add a new policy, give it a name, file malware control. Okay. This is the name. Put a description if you want and hit save. It's creating the policy. So my policy is now created. Right now, no access control policies use this malware and file control. Okay. Let me zoom in a bit more. Okay. Now you can create rules related to file and malware control in this section. And there are few more options under the advanced section. We will talk about them later on. First, look at the rules. Okay. In order to create a rule related to file and malware control, we first need to know about a few things like I want to discuss about file dispositions, file actions, and the rule evaluation order of file and malware control. So file and malware control rules are really not evaluated like the access control rules. You know, top to down approach, first match, done, rest all script. No. So that's why I also said treat it like a profile. Okay. Now let's look at what are these. I'll go here. First thing is file dispositions. Let me do a full screen. Okay. So file dispositions, which is really the verdict of a file once it has been analyzed by FTD via via local analysis mechanism, or if it was sent to AMP, Cisco Cloud, then what was the verdict about that file from the Cisco M? Basically, the final decision on the verdict. So there are four major verdicts. Malware, the file is malicious. Okay. Clean, the file is safe and it has no malware. Unknown, the file has not yet been classified by the AMP cloud. So the request was sent to AMP cloud to get the file disposition, but there has been no disposition yet by AMP cloud. Unavailable means system could not connect to AMP cloud, or somehow there was a problem to connect to AMP cloud to determine the file's disposition. Okay. Now, next is file policy actions. There are four actions you can configure in a file and malware control policy. First action is detect files. This option only detect files. It cannot block them and cannot do any other kind of analysis on them. Just a detection. Like I want to detect all the PDF files going via a specific access control rule. I can create a file and malware control policy, create a rule, source to destination, PDF files, detect them. So it will create the file events whenever those files are, detected via that specific rule. Okay, where the malware and file control policy is attached. Now, next is block files. Block files, this is you will use when you want to block whatever is the verdict. I do not care. Good, bad, whatever it is, just block the files. Like blocking all PDF files, blocking all, you know, any other kind of files, whatever are supported in the Cisco FTD, whatever file types are supported. Okay. Then another option is malware cloud lookup. Malware cloud lookup can also not block your files. You cannot block the files with the malware cloud lookup. Okay. What malware cloud lookup does, sends file to Cisco's cloud for disposition analysis, allows transmission but logs results. Okay. The thing send files to Cisco's cloud for disposition analysis, it depends. There are certain analysis mechanisms. We will look at them. But yeah, if there is dynamic analysis and no local analysis can reach to a verdict, or the verdict is clean, then you go for a, you know, second opinion to the cloud. If the option is checked and the file is supported for the sending the Cisco cloud, then it will happen. Block malware. This action only blocks the file when it is malicious. If the file is found to be, you know, not malicious, allowed. Okay, it should be classified, or basically its disposition should be malware. Now, first action and third action cannot block the files. Detect files will detect the file. Malware cloud will, detect the file, also perform the lookup on the file to decide its disposition. Block files will block all file irrespective of whether they are good or bad. Block malware will only block the files when they have malicious code in them, or maybe they are malicious to the system. Okay, or their disposition is malicious. So it is very important to know what these four actions do. When you will be applying a policy, you know, to a rule, so it depends what you really want to achieve. Like suppose you want to know what files are traveling. So you will use detect files. You will say, okay, I have detected these files. I don't want to allow these files, whether these specific extensions like exe, etc., not to flow. Use block files. Okay. So you can use these actions as per your need. Now, file policy rule preferences. So suppose you have in file policy, you can have multiple rules. One rule says detect PDF files. Other rule says block PDF files. And another rule says block malware if it is in the PDF files. And one more rule says do a malware cloud lookup on the PDF files. Okay. So four actions on same file, traveling from same source to same destination. Okay. In this case, what will happen? It's not like, an access control policy that you have a top to down approach, first rule match, you let it go. No, all rules which are subjected to, the conditions in the rule will match. And what will happen? The block file section, wherever it is, will be executed first. If system finds a block rule for PDF, execute it. Doesn't matter at, at what order it is. If that does not match, then if you, after that you have block malware. If there was malware in the file, so the blocking actions in such case come on the top. Block the file, first action block file, irrespective of PDF was good or bad. Next, block malware. Block will block the malware if PDF had a malware inside it. Okay. So these actions will only be, executed in this precedence, highest high, and then the medium for the malware cloud lookup, and lowest for the detect files, if there are four rules for a specific file type. If there are two rules, then suppose you have only block files and malware cloud lookup file, then always block files will be executed. Its action will be going forward because it has the highest precedence level. Now, uh, I wanted to talk about a few more stuff. Let me just go back to the FMC. Okay, so this is our FMC. I'll click on add rule. Okay, you see there are certain criteria. First criteria is application protocol. What application protocols are supported? See a drop down. HTTP, SMTP, IMAP, POP3, FTP, or SMB. These protocols are supported on the FTD firewall in order to be inspected for file and malware control. Okay, I would say any, all protocols. Also, I would suggest if you are applying file and malware control, so you also perform SSL inspection because most of the threats in today's world come via encrypted traffic. Encrypted does not mean safe, okay? It just means no one cannot see to it. Now, next is direction of file transfer. If the file is being uploaded or downloaded over the connection, okay, you can set it. Usually, we trust all the files going out from our network, uh, to say, okay, they are good, they don't have a malware. Do not take a block action for them. But yeah, you can set any to analyze both. Another thing, the actions I talked about, detect files, block files, malware cloud lookup, and block malware. You can also store the files. If a fault was detected, then FTD can send the file to FMC for the storage. Okay, it will be stored here, and you can look at that later. I'll tell you about that as well. Now, these are the file categories which are present. You can use all the files which are present in these categories over the FTD with these actions. Okay. And if you want to add all the files in a specific category, just select the category, click all types, and then add. That's how you can add a category. Okay. File category. Now, let's look at, I'm selected detect. No options come up. Block files as an action. In case of block files, if you check the reset connection, then there will be a TCP reset sent to client and server both when the file is blocked. Another one was malware cloud lookup. Now you see, now we have fancy more options come up. First is Spiro analysis for MSXE. What is a Spiro analysis? How does it work? It gathers the data about the exe file, some metadata about the file and some properties, and then sends it to FMC for a disposition about the file, about the exe. This works only for the exe. Then if FMC has a disposition, it will provide to FTD, and then accordingly, its disposition will be shown. If it isn't, then it will send it to AMP cloud and get the disposition from there along on the Spiro signature of the file. And it only works for exe files. Now, dynamic analysis is something where the file is sent to the AMP if a local disposition cannot be decided with full confidence. Okay. Capacity handling is when suppose you are running on low capacity. Okay. And it will store the files if they cannot be submitted to dynamic analysis on the disk for later submission. You can submit the file later as well. I'll show you how. Now, the next is local malware analysis. Local malware analysis is like you have antivirus on your machine and every file gets infected. Antivirus runs. I would say try to identify if it is a virus or not by the help of the signature. Similar, FTD uses CLAM AV. Okay, CLAM AV as its antivirus engine. Okay, now you can store certain types of files by checking the boxes there. You know, but never store the malware. Okay, they are not good until unless you want to do reverse engineering on them. Block malware also have same actions, same analysis which you can perform, but just one extra option: reset connection. When the connection will be reset, file identified as a malware, connection resets, then TCP reset will be sent to client and server both. So that was about the rule. I would say options which are present or maybe criteria which is present in a rule to be used when you create a file and malware control rule. So thank you for your time on this video. I'll see you in the next video where we are going to explore more on it.